Laptop computer spins onto the screen, opens, and displays ATP Education Program webinar series, closes, and then spins off the screen.
Hello and welcome to this video on our continuing executive functioning and assistive technology series. Today we are going to talk about how to keep assistive technology from causing executive functioning glitches. Assistive technology is a phenomenal thing that really helps out a lot of students, but it can also cause some issues for students who struggle with executive functioning because of the fact that it often changes routines and makes things different than what students are used to, or kind of breaks from the normal pattern of things in the classroom. My name is Cassie Frost. I am an assistive technology specialist, behavior specialist, problem solver, collector of things that may come in handy, and believer that everyone can learn. My contact information again will be on the last slide with my email and Twitter handle. My Twitter handle is here below as well. As always, feel free to reach out with any questions you have along the way. I'm always happy to help out. As always, also, as we're going through, because this is a video, feel free to go back, pause, and take advantage of those wonderful tools that come with learning via video. So as we get going today and we want to talk about some glitches, the very first thing I want to talk about is the goals of assistive technology. So we use assistive technology to increase student independence. We want students to be able to access their educational environment, have more opportunities, and be as independent as possible. Outcomes of assistive technology: when things are going well, it provides additional independence for students. It may help support student self-esteem because of that independence and being able to do things that they otherwise may not be able to. It allows them to have better access to the educational environment and improve learning outcomes and social interactions. We know that when students are feeling independent, when students can participate appropriately in class, we know that that improves learning outcomes. Students are being able to participate more in class, and they're being able to participate more with their peers. All of these sound like really positive things, and they are. Assistive technology is wonderful. However, if you have students who are struggling with executive functioning, or who have underlying difficulties in the areas of attention, time management, organization, assistive technology can begin to cause some glitches as well. So we're going to kind of define glitches for the purpose of this presentation as unintended consequences of introducing AT into a student's routine. Nobody's looking for these things to happen. We're really excited about AT. The AT may be working really well, but we may start discovering there are some other areas of issue along the way. One of the biggest things is that new routines take time. So when we add AT into a student's daily experience and routine, the routines that have already been in place have now suddenly changed. Those routines take time to also change. So let's look at an example. An example of this, we're going to use food. Everybody likes food, right? One of the problems with certain types of food packaging, and I'm using potato chips as a great example here, is that these packages are hard to open. So if you look at the package on the right-hand side, you're going to see that it has the little perforations on the top, which are supposed to make it easier to open. I'm guessing you've had the same experience I have. Sometimes those packages are a little bit slippery. Sometimes those don't tear as well as we would like them to. Maybe when you tear that bag, it tears all the way down the side and the food falls out everywhere. The bag on the left there, the potato chips, I'm sure we've all experienced trying to, pull open a bag of potato chips and it doesn't want to go. And eventually we pull hard enough and the potato chips and everything go flying out of the bag, right? That's a problem. That's something that most of us do pretty regularly. We've encountered these packages. We know this is an issue and that there's a problem here. So let's look at a potential solution. A potential solution is grabbing a pair of scissors, right? Most of us have scissors or some cutting device in our homes, and we could use those to cut open or cut off the top of any one of these bags. So again, for most of us, we can get around without using it, but we're going to use this again as our example kind of assistive technology today. Again, the bag is hard to open. A potential solution would be using the scissors. However, based off my first question here, there's a glitch. Oftentimes, we don't use those scissors. Why? Why do we not choose to use the scissors that are located somewhere in our home in order to open the bag? Instead, most of us will continue to try to, rip at those little perforations for extended periods of time. Or we may choose to pull the chip bag apart and watch the chips go flying, even though we have done this over and over and over again, and we know it doesn't work well. It does get us to our end goal, however. In the end, we do accomplish what we needed to. We are able to get into the food package. It's not the smoothest way. The scissors would help us, but oftentimes we choose not to do it. The question is, why? Okay, oftentimes this is because the scissors may be lost. Or it could be that these scissors are not as handy. They're not right next to us. So it's going to take more time. It could be an organizational issue. We don't have the scissors with us. It could be that it's just not part of our routine. We haven't gotten in the habit of grabbing them, and our habit still is to continuously try to open the bag the way we always have. These are the exact same glitches that students may run into when we introduce assistive technology into their world. If the assistive technology is not easily available, so again, if the scissors aren't sitting on the counter, we're not going to use them. If it's possibly lost, maybe our scissors are in a junk drawer, maybe the assistive technology isn't easy for the students to find. Maybe it takes too much time. We know where the scissors are, but we don't want to walk into the other room to get them. Just like a student maybe has the assistive technology, but it's going to take them longer to use it than to do it the more difficult way. Or it could just be that it's not part of the routine yet. We have opened chip bags this way for so long that we don't even think about using the scissors. And our students may also have that same issue. They've done things in a certain way, the more difficult way perhaps, without assistive technology for so long, that when that same problem comes up again, they're just not thinking about using it. So, executive functioning glitches. It may be an issue with time, organization, memory, attention, and processing. What's interesting about this is we may be even putting assistive technology in place to help support one of these areas. However, those same exact executive functioning glitches can get in the way of use of the assistive technology. Oftentimes, it may look like this graphic here on the right that shows a direction from A to B, a very simple straight line, and then also a really winding kind of roundabout way to get there. Oftentimes, we view assistive technology as being more of that straight line. Instead of having to go through all of these steps from A to B, or maybe not even getting to B, the assistive technology may allow a student to go from A to B with very little difficulty along the way. However, if using that assistive technology increases the time it takes for a student to accomplish a task, or if a student simply perceives that it's going to take longer, that may actually end up having an opposite result. If a student feels like using the assistive technology is going to be that windy route from A to B, they are going to take the more straight route. So again, in my scissors example, why do we not bother to get the scissors? Well, because we perceive in our head that it is going to take us longer to go find the scissors, get them, and cut open the bag than it would be if we continue to sit and struggle and do it. In reality, it probably would be faster to go get the scissors, especially when you consider that if you rip open the bag and everything goes flying out of it, now you also have to clean it up. But time is a huge glitch in the use of assistive technology for students who struggle with time management. Organization may also be a barrier to assistive technology use. The AT must be easily located, or attempting to find it will add on time. And that goes back to that previous area. If a student cannot easily access their AT, they're less likely to use it. Even if they do decide to use it, if it's not easily accessible, it's going to add on time that's then going to put them behind in other areas. So having a solid location for AT tools is going to be key. Another possible glitch is memory. This comes into remembering that the AT is available to you, remembering to use it, and then remembering how to use it. Oftentimes, we may introduce assistive technology to students, but if we don't go through the process of using it and remind students that it is available to them, it's very easy to fall back into routines that don't include the assistive technology use. Attention is another key point. And this is the process of remembering and using the AT becoming a distraction. And a lot of times we will kind of run up against this if it is an assistive technology that uses more of on high tech, so using computers, things that are going to open up a lot more distractions. So we need to find a way to provide AT in an environment that is offering the least distraction as possible. And then we always want to go and look at processing. Adding in assistive technology, especially if it is new to a student's routine, may have the students have to switch thought processes and processing more often than they are used to. So, for example, if a student is using assistive technology for reading and the teacher asks the student to get out a book and begin reading, our student using a new assistive technology now needs to find those assistive technology tools, get them booted, get them ready to go, take them out before they can begin the reading process. So even though it will help a student with reading, it also is going to require them to have mental processing switches more frequently in order to get to the point of using it. So, what can we do? So we know that adding assistive technology can add glitches. And hopefully by looking at some of those glitches, it's got you thinking a little bit about what happens when we add assistive technology into a student's world, and a little bit of what to look for when you see things maybe starting to not go quite right. So, some considerations. The first step is considering the environment the AT will be used in. While assistive technology tool may be perfect for a student and what they need, we also need to look at that environment that it's going to be used in and how it's going to interact with that environment as well. We need to make sure that we are instructing in the AT use, making sure that students are fluid in their use of the AT, making sure that they have had plenty of opportunities to practice, and practice in the environment that it's going to be used in as much as possible. While a student, again, going back to a reading example, maybe a student uses a reading pen to read out loud words that maybe they can't pronounce or comprehend. Being able to use the pen is one thing. Being able to fluidly get it out in the middle of a science class, find it, locate it, pull it out, start it up, and use it is an entirely different process. So while the AT itself may be a great fit, it also needs to fit into that environment. So having students practice in that environment as much as possible will help immensely. Then take some time as an educator, as an AT specialist, as a parent, as a student. Take some time to consider the usage of the AT throughout the entire day. This means start from the beginning of the day all the way through the end of the day and think about all of the different ways that assistive technology might be used. Think about all of the different environments it may be used in and start looking for where there could be glitches. This could be anything from there might not be enough time to use the assistive technology. The assistive technology might not be readily available because it's only in certain classrooms and we have to figure out how to move things around. It may be an issue with organization. Where is this AT going to be kept as students move throughout their day? Start looking for all of the little glitches that could get in the way of successful AT usage. Develop a system for storage and organization. Where does the AT kept? How do you store it? How do you keep track of it? What's the organizational process of using this AT? Normalizing the AT use to decrease distractions. So if AT is something brand new to a student and it's brand new to a classroom, it's going to provide a lot of distraction possibly for the students around the student that's using the AT. And then in result also for that student who's explaining why they're using it or maybe feeling self-conscious about it. So as much as possible, normalizing the use of alternative methods, all different types of AT in the classroom will go a long way to decreasing some of those distractions or off-task, moments in your classroom. Practice the routines, again, as much as possible in the environment that the AT will be used in, and then allow extra time. Especially when you're introducing new assistive technology, you can't necessarily expect that a student is going to be able to utilize the AT with the same speed that you're hoping that they will down the road. As much as possible, allow extra time for students to find their assistive technology devices, to get it working appropriately, to deal with any of those glitches, to store it appropriately again for that organization piece, and to begin to find ways to work it into their routine. Again, if we're going back to that potato chip bag, most of us a lot of times are opening maybe a bag of potato chips when somebody's waiting for us to open it. And so we feel like we are in a time crunch. We don't want to set down that bag and go find the scissors and come back. So make sure that you are providing enough time for a student to feel like they can be successful in going through the steps of utilizing their assistive technology. Here's a consideration example. In this table, I've kind of broken things down: time, a location, where is the AT going to be stored or organized, what is the routine for its use, and possible potential glitches. I may use this table to go in and look at a student's day with new assistive technology and figuring out exactly how their day is going to work, and again, to look for those glitches. So for example, maybe a student is going first hour to science class. In that class, it makes a lot of sense for their AT tool to be sitting on the corner of their desk. So that is where it will go when they go to that classroom. When it's time to use the assistive technology in that classroom, the routine is going to allow extra time after directions for the student to get the device ready to go. And we're going to provide a visual prompt for the AT use. So that could be a poster on the wall, it could be a little sign on the student's desk, but just to kind of remind the student that they're going to use it. However, we found a potential glitch. That is, if the AT is kept on a corner of a student's desk, when they do group work, the student will have to remember to take the assistive technology with them. So now that we know that glitch, we'll want to go back and work out some ways to help support it. When we went to second hour in reading, the AT was actually kept in the book pocket. So in reading class, there's a book pocket with the students reading books, and because this AT is used for reading, it's kept in that book pocket. Makes a lot of sense in that classroom. In a routine for the use, this one, there is going to be a prompt for getting out the book, getting that out of the book pocket along with the book. So the teacher is saying things like, go ahead and get out your books and any additional tools you need. Okay, so there's that nice visual prompt, and it's part of that routine. But potential glitches here is remembering at the end of class to take the device out of the book pocket and take it with them to the next class. And that's because kind of out of sight, out of mind, right? So that could be a potential glitch. What can we do to help support that? If you use a sample like this throughout a student's entire day, you're going to often find things that maybe there's not a plan for storage. Maybe there's not a routine already in place for the use. Or maybe even in some classes, students are already really good at using it and they don't need any extra support. However, still knowing the routine of how the student uses it will really help the teacher know where maybe they need to add in a little extra time here and there. Also looking for those glitches. What could be getting in the way? Is it something with time management, with memory, with organization? What's getting in the way of a student successfully utilizing AT during that class? Once those glitches are identified, it's much easier to go back through then and find some ways around them. So we have gotten done talking about glitches today. And things that can get in the way of successful assistive technology use. Again, because this is a video, if you have areas that were of more interest, definitely rewind and go back and listen to those. If you have any questions that are not answered in the video, definitely feel free to reach out to me at cfrost@disruptive-teaching.com or reach me on Twitter. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Again, this video series is going to continue on looking more at some of the specific tools that can be used in the classroom to support students with executive functioning. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for watching. For more information on the ATP education program, please visit our website at atp.nebraska.gov/education or email us at atp.education@nebraska.gov.